The first time she told me I was temporary, she did it with a smile, like it was a compliment that I was useful. We were standing in a bright kitchen at her coworker's loft, surrounded by people who talked in job titles and vacation plans. She leaned into me for a photo, posted it before the flash even finished, then glanced at my watch and laughed under her breath. "You are so stable," she said, like stability was a brand she could wear for the season. Then she added the part that landed like cold water. "Stable is perfect while I'm building. Long term, I need something bigger." I didn't argue. I didn't even look surprised. I had been swallowing smaller versions of that sentence for 2 years. I just set my glass down, picked up my jacket, and walked out while her friends were still choosing a filter. In the elevator, I watched the numbers drop and felt my chest loosen, like a belt unbuckled after being too tight for too long. Her name was Nadia, and she loved saying the words level up like they were a promise the universe owed her. I met her at a charity run my office sponsored. She was volunteering at the registration table, perfectly dressed for someone handing out safety pins. She asked me where I worked, and when I told her, her eyes lit up in that way people do when they decide you might be useful later. She was funny, fast, and fearless in conversation. I was impressed by how easily she moved through a crowd, how she made strangers feel like they were auditioning for her attention. In the beginning, I mistook her selectiveness for standards. She mistook my steadiness for compliance. Our first months were easy. Dinners, weekends, trips to farmers markets, long walks through the city where she explained the life she was going to have. She talked about penthouses, art walls, private clubs, the kind of places that require a membership and pretend they do not. I worked in operations for a logistics company. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. I didn't hate my job, and I didn't pretend it made me someone else. When she introduced me to her friends, she said, "This is Miles," and she waited for them to react to my name the way they reacted to certain brand names. They were all in finance, tech sales, consulting, or whatever title sounded expensive that month. They spoke in numbers and trajectory. It was subtle, but I felt it, the way her smile tightened when I didn't perform. The first real compromise came after 8 months. My manager offered me a promotion that required moving to Minneapolis for a year. Bigger scope, stronger team, a clear path back into headquarters leadership. The pay bump would have mattered. The experience would have mattered more. I was excited when I told Nadia because I thought we were the kind of couple who celebrated each other's growth. She stared at me like I'd announced I planned to shave my head on purpose. "Minneapolis," she said, stretching the word like it tasted bad. "You cannot be serious." I explained it again, slower, like maybe I had communicated it wrong. She waved her hand. "I'm not doing that. I'm not leaving my network. I'm not freezing my life because your company finally noticed you. If you go, we're done." Not in a dramatic way, in an obvious way. I remember sitting in my car afterward, hands on the wheel, thinking about how easily she made my future feel like an inconvenience. I turned down the promotion and told myself I was choosing love. Nadia thanked me the way you thank someone for carrying a heavy bag you were holding out for them to take. Briefly, without feeling indebted. After that, she grew bolder. A joke here, a comment there. She would talk about her friend Lana's boyfriend who drove a sports car like a reward. She would send me reels about surprise trips and designer gifts. She would laugh and say she loved that I wasn't like those insecure guys who needed to feel like the man. I didn't notice at first that the praise was really training. We moved into her apartment a year in. It was a one-bedroom she rented from an older cousin for less than market because family helps family. She said it like it was proof she was smart. The place was fine, but small. I offered to split expenses evenly. She looked at me like I didn't understand the obvious hierarchy. "You're living in my space," she said. "I'm taking the risk. I'm the one with the lease. You can do 70%. You make steady money. It's not like you're saving for anything exciting." I should have left then. Instead, I paid, because it was easier than admitting I had walked into a relationship where I was valued like a subscription. Nadia had a habit of upgrading people. Not in a cruel way, she insisted. In a realistic way. She curated her circle like a feed. If someone stopped being useful, they faded. When she talked about old friends, she called them sweet, which was how she labeled anyone she didn't respect. The moment that should have ended, it happened in a parking garage. We were leaving a restaurant after her friend's birthday. A guy in a tailored coat walked past us, and Nadia's attention snapped to him like a magnet. She smiled at him, and he smiled back like he recognized her from somewhere better. When he walked on, she sighed and said under her breath that men like that did not date women who settled. I asked her what she meant. She looked annoyed, like I was interrupting her thought. I mean, I'm not settling, Miles. I'm not going to end up with someone who peaks early and calls it stability. That night, I lay in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathe. The word temporary didn't show up yet, but the shape of it did. A few weeks later, her company hosted a gala to celebrate a funding round. She worked in marketing for a startup that spent money like a performance. The event was at a museum after hours. Spotlights on marble, champagne flutes everywhere, donors and executives walking like they belonged to the building. Nadia wore a dress that made people turn, and she loved the turning. I wore the nicest suit I owned and felt like an extra. She introduced me to her boss, a man with a perfect haircut and a handshake that felt rehearsed. Nadia said, "This is Miles," and then she added, "He's in operations," like she was apologizing. Her boss smiled politely and asked what I did, but his eyes drifted away before I finished answering. Nadia didn't notice. Or she did, and it pleased her that I wasn't the main thing in her story. Later, while she mingled, I went to the bar to get water. I stood near a wall display and waited, watching a sculpture that looked expensive and meaningless. That's when I heard her. She wasn't whispering. She was performing. She had her friends in a semicircle, and she was holding court. I heard my name, then her laugh. That laugh was familiar, the one she used when she wanted the room to agree with her. Someone asked if we were going to move to something bigger, maybe get engaged. Nadia smiled and lifted her glass. She said I was great for now, dependable, solid, the kind of man you date when you want peace while you build the real plan. Then she said it clearly, almost kindly. Long term, I need someone with more fire, more presence. I can't end up with a man who thinks routine is romance. They laughed, not like villains, like people confident they were right. I stood there holding a glass of water and felt something strange happen. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt an inventory being completed. Every moment that had confused me snapped into place. Every time she had made my goals smaller. Every time she had treated my effort as expected. Every time she had made me feel grateful for her attention. It wasn't random. It was a system. I walked over because I wanted to see her face when the system stopped working. She saw me and froze for half a second, then recovered, smiling too quickly. "Babe," she said, as if the word could glue me back into place. I leaned in and spoke quietly so only she heard me. "Don't worry," I said. "You won't get the chance." Her smile flickered. "What are you talking about?" I didn't explain. I didn't argue. I just walked away, past the spotlights, past the marble, out into the night. I requested my car from the valet and waited without checking my phone. My hands didn't shake. That scared me a little and also made me proud. She called before I reached my street. I didn't answer. At home, I packed a bag. Not dramatically, not throwing things, just choosing what belonged to me. Toothbrush, laptop, work shoes, the jacket my father gave me. I slept on the couch that night because I didn't want to share air with her. In the morning, she acted like nothing had happened. She padded into the living room, hair messy, wearing one of my shirts, and asked if I wanted coffee. Her confidence was almost impressive, like she believed reality was optional if she ignored it hard enough. I told her I was moving out. She blinked. Then she laughed, the smaller laugh she used when she thought someone was being ridiculous. "Miles, come on." I told her I'd already arranged it. The first emotion that crossed her face wasn't sadness. It was irritation. Like I had broken a plan. She started listing reasons it didn't make sense. "We have a trip next month. I have work events. You can't just decide this." I said I could. I said I had. She tried a different tactic, softer now. She said she had been joking. She said her friends were dramatic. She said she was stressed. She said I was taking a single comment too seriously. I told her it wasn't a single comment. It was the entire relationship spoken out loud. She got angry then. She said I was insecure. She said I was scared of ambition. She said I was going to regret throwing away something good. I said something that surprised even me. I told her she didn't get to call it good now that I was leaving. She had spent 2 years explaining why I was not enough. I believed her, and I was done paying tuition for her future. That line hit her. Tuition. She stared at me like she had never imagined I could describe the dynamic without her permission. I moved into a small apartment on the other side of the city. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. The first night I sat on the floor with a takeout container and felt peace like a physical thing. No tension, no mental math, no checking if my presence annoyed someone. Nadia did not handle the loss of control well. She flooded my phone with calls and texts. She asked to talk. She demanded to talk. She said she would come over. I blocked her number. Then she used her friends. A message from Lana. A message from her coworker. An email from an address I didn't recognize. I didn't respond. 2 weeks later, she showed up at my office building. Not inside, because security refused, but outside by the entrance like a trap. I saw her through the glass while I was walking back from lunch. She spotted me and stepped forward, confident, chin lifted like she was walking into a boardroom. I didn't stop. I changed direction and walked around the building to the parking garage. I heard my name once, sharp, then the sound of her heels fading. The most shocking part was how quickly my life expanded once she wasn't taking up space in it. I started going to a boxing gym near my apartment, not because I wanted to fight anyone, but because I wanted to feel my body work hard for something that was mine. I cooked. I slept. I took the promotion I had turned down when another opening came up, this time without moving. My manager said he had been waiting for me to say yes for a while. I realized how much I had been shrinking. At a networking breakfast hosted by a local business group, I met someone named Erin. She worked in compliance for a medical device company, and she spoke with the kind of calm confidence that didn't require an audience. We sat at the same table because the room was crowded, and we ended up talking about everything from career frustration to favorite cheap diners. She laughed at my jokes like she was actually listening. When we exchanged numbers, it didn't feel like a trophy. It felt like a door opening. Erin was not flashy. She didn't talk about level up. She talked about values, boundaries, effort. She told me what she wanted, and she asked what I wanted, and when I answered, she didn't treat it like a sales pitch she needed to negotiate. We took things slow. Coffee, then dinner, then a hike. The first time I told her about Nadia, I didn't dramatize it. I just stated facts. Erin listened and didn't interrupt with advice. When I finished, she said quietly that no one should be loved like a placeholder. That sentence mattered more than any apology Nadia ever attempted. By the time 3 months passed, my apartment looked lived in. Erin kept a toothbrush at my place. I had plants I didn't kill. The walls had photos from weekends that weren't staged for social media. My life felt honest. That's when Nadia showed up. It was a Saturday afternoon. Erin and I had just returned from the grocery store. She was in one of my hoodies, hair up, balancing a bag of oranges on her hip like she'd been doing it forever. I was unloading groceries in the kitchen when I heard the knock. Erin opened the door before I could. Her voice carried into the hallway, polite, steady. "Can I help you?" There was a pause. Then Nadia's voice, bright and too loud, like she was trying to force the world to agree with her. "I'm looking for Miles." I stepped into the living room and saw her standing there, perfectly styled for someone claiming desperation. She looked past Erin into the apartment like she was scanning for proof of betrayal. Her eyes landed on the grocery bags, the framed photo of Erin and me at a trailhead, the quiet comfort of our space. Her face tightened. She forced a smile. "Miles," she said, like the word belonged to her. Erin didn't move aside. She simply looked at me, a silent question. I told Aaron this was Nadia. Nadia's expression cracked for a second. She hadn't expected me to say her name like that, plain and unromantic. She wanted an entrance. She got a label. She said she needed to talk. She said she had made a mistake. She said she had been under pressure. She said she had been scared and stupid, and that she had said things she didn't mean. I asked her if she wanted to come inside. She took a step forward, then hesitated when Aaron didn't budge. The dynamic was new for her. There was no stage, no audience, no automatic access. I told her we could talk here. Her eyes flicked to Aaron with a flash of anger. "This is private," she said. Aaron's voice stayed calm. "You came to his home uninvited. You made it public." Nadia turned back to me, trying to soften. She said she missed me. She said she realized I was the best thing she had. She said she was ready now. Ready. Like she was offering me a promotion. I watched her closely and felt nothing like longing. I felt distance. Not the painful kind, the safe kind. I told her I wasn't available. She stared, confused. "What do you mean you're not available?" I told her I meant what the words meant. I was with someone. I was happy. I wasn't interested in revisiting a relationship where I had been treated like a temporary solution. Her eyes filled, then hardened. She looked at Aaron's hoodie. My hoodie on Aaron's body like it was a crime scene. "So you replaced me," she said. I didn't correct the word because the correction wouldn't matter. She needed to believe she had been replaced, not that she had been left. I told her no one replaced her. She removed herself the day she told her friends she couldn't end up with me. I just accepted her decision. She tried to argue. She said she hadn't meant it. She said people say stupid things. She said I had overreacted. I told her I hadn't reacted at all. I had acted. I chose myself. That line landed differently than I expected. Nadia blinked, as if she was trying to understand a language she didn't speak. She had always framed relationships like transactions. She didn't understand someone ending the deal without negotiating. She asked for one more chance. Therapy, a conversation, a coffee, anything. Aaron's hand slipped into mine, not possessive, just present. That small gesture seemed to break Nadia more than my words. She saw the certainty. She saw the calm. She saw the things she had never given me. She stepped back, suddenly embarrassed by her own performance. Her voice went smaller. "You're really done," she said. I told her yes. I told her I had been done for months. I told her I was only explaining because she had shown up at my door and I wanted her to leave with the truth instead of another story she could spin. She looked at me with a mix of anger and disbelief, then at Aaron like she wanted to blame her for existing. Finally, she said something that sounded like a curse, but also like a confession. "You were supposed to be the safe one," she said. I nodded. I was, safe to undervalue, safe to use, safe to keep around while you waited for something bigger. Then I stopped being safe. Her jaw tightened. She said I would regret this. She said Aaron would leave. She said I would crawl back. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. My silence wasn't passive. It was closed. Nadia turned and walked down the hall, heels clicking, then the building door closed and the sound was gone. Aaron exhaled slowly and looked at me. "You okay?" she asked. I realized I was, not because it didn't matter, but because it no longer controlled anything. I told her I was okay. I told her I was glad she had been there. We went back inside. We put away groceries. We made dinner. The day kept moving, simple and real, like my life finally belonged to me. Later that night, I checked my email and saw a message from an unknown address. No subject line, just one sentence. "I didn't know you could leave without begging." I deleted it. For a long time, I thought my strength would look like some big dramatic moment, a speech, a fight, a final word. It didn't. It looked like a quiet decision made in an elevator while the numbers dropped. It looked like packing a bag, blocking a number, signing a lease, going to a gym, saying yes to my own opportunities. It looked like letting someone stand at my door and hearing their apology without letting it rewrite history. Nadia wanted a man she could brag about. Aaron wanted a man she could build with. I finally understood the difference. I used to think being stable meant being easy to keep. Now I know stability is what you bring to someone who actually chooses you. And if they don't, you walk away before you become a placeholder in your own life.